Right. We talk about interest rates coming down by the Federal Reserve and the disparity between the Fed rate and the LIBOR rate, which a lot of mortgages are put on. It seems to me that that's one step by the government and the Federal Reserve to fatten the profit margins for some banks that are in trouble and really not designed to stimulate, more loans. That's one thing, one way that they're attempting to try to solve the problem. You're on the ground level. Is there something that the Federal Reserve or the federal government, from your position, would make the situation a lot better?
Because I'm on the ground level, it's very tough for me to say. And also, I'm not a very politics-oriented kind of guy.
Right.
However, I will tell you this. The best thing that they can do is they can continue to only write loans, especially, when you talk about government, they're the ones lending with the FHA. I would urge them to be very careful in loosening up guidelines there, because I believe that the guidelines should be tight. Right now, FHA, no matter what kind of credit you have, basically, you can get an FHA loan as long as your income qualifies. Do I agree with that? I don't know. I mean, it's great for people that need it. For people that have subprime loans, they're saving them now, but my thoughts are what's going to happen later. What's going to happen later, because if they couldn't pay their subprime loan, how are they going to pay their FHA loan? Okay? Now, again, the rates probably will come down 2-3 points in that exchange of a refinance, but even so, most of these people couldn't qualify in the first place. So again, it's like an iffy situation, and I'm not really sure what's going to wind up happening. But, being that I was at Oppenheimer and now with WCS Lending, I've seen the NASDAQ go from 5,200 to 1,350 at the low. And now I'm seeing this. I feel like I could live through anything. So,
and I have to ask, as a mortgage broker, how do you take the criticism of your particular industry? Because I think you guys have been made the whipping boys, for people who couldn't afford mortgages that got them anyhow because there were commissions or, compensation involved. I mean, that must be very disturbing to you.
Yeah, you know what? I have a saying, it's none of my business what people think of me. And I will say this, I put my head down and I move forward and I try to be a pillar in the community and someone who's honest and decent and puts in a good, hard day's work. I take care of my clients. I have, I don't know, 40, 50 testimonials that I've collected in the recent couple of years. And, I always say to my new clients, don't listen to me, see what my other clients think. And I send them my testimonials. Look, I write loans for people who qualify for them, okay? And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And, again, if I have a bad rap or my company has a bad rap or mortgage brokers as a whole have a bad rap, there's nothing I can do about it. It's none of my business.
It seems very unfair. The government was pushing home ownership as a populist approach.
Well, now we're going to take a quick break. This is a good point to stop. And we're going to do a quick look at some finest known facts.
Welcome back from the break. Before we went to break, we were talking to Neil Stein about the mortgage and credit crisis that's taking place. And you know what? I want to ask you a question that's been troubling me for a while. I see a lot of commercials about reverse mortgages. And it always occurs to me that there's a wide disparity between a good opportunity for a retired person from doing that and a bad opportunity.
First and foremost, before someone takes out a reverse mortgage, they need and are required by law to take a education either over the telephone or at their home that takes about 15-20 minutes by somebody from the state. So they have to present me with a certificate before I can even apply for them. So that's number one. Number two, reverse mortgages
Is
are
that only in Florida, or is that
That's everywhere.
It's nationwide.
nationwide.
And is that somebody who's a part of the state government or a contractor
I think it's a contractor,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Reverse mortgages, if you can qualify if you're over 62 years old and you have a home that you live in, your primary residence. You cannot qualify for reverse mortgage if it's your vacation home or your investment property. So it's got to be primary residence, 62 plus. The way they determine how much money they are going to lend you, the lender that is how old you are and the value of your home. They don't care about your credit, they don't care about your assets, and they don't care about your income. Now, there's upsides and downsides to reverse mortgages. The upside is, I'm going to make up a scenario. If you have somebody that retired 10 years ago and they're 72 years old, and because of inflation and what has gone on in the equity markets over the last 10 years or so, that they're in trouble. They can't afford their lifestyle, but they don't have a mortgage on their house, or they have a small mortgage on their house. Well, they can get a reverse mortgage and they can get paid a monthly income. They can take all the cash out at once, and basically they don't have to pay it back until they die. However, the estate will be responsible for that debt within a year of them passing, okay? So the estate, the heirs either have to sell the home and pay it off or just pay it off from their own bank accounts. Now, the downside is much like a negative amortization loan, but not exactly, because a negative amortization loan, you're always going to be required to make a payment, which could really, damage your ability to make that payment depending on how much it goes up. But with reverse mortgages, since you never have to make a payment, the accrued interest isn't going to kill the person that has the mortgage, okay? So the interest will accrue, but remember, over time, the value in property goes up. We're not talking about a small window of 2 to 3 years. And furthermore, the bank is protecting the heirs and the senior citizen, because the most I've seen lent on a reverse mortgage is maybe 55, 60 loan to value. So they're gonna make room for appreciation and for the accrual of interest.
And also, I mean, the one issue you do have, though, is if you have depreciation of real estate,
Right.
and it continues for a long time period, then that could be problematic for basically those left after that person passes on, potentially.
Potentially, that's correct. However, there are formulas where they're only letting that person borrow so much,
Right.
depending on their age. For instance, at 62 to 67, and I'm, again, very roundabout here, you're looking at LTVs of 30 to 35%.
Right.
No matter how much depreciation there is, for the most part, I think you're looking at a safe bet to have 65% equity in there.
That brings a good follow-on question, which is the home equity lines are something that almost like mortgages have seemed to have stopped very quickly. Mm-hmm. And clearly that contributed to the growth of the U.S. economy over time. When we bought our house, as an example, there was no negotiating on the price because the person that we had bought it from had too big a home equity line and they just couldn't come down in value. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that market? Is it going to return, or is it, again, just gone like subprime? What are your thoughts there?
My thoughts are, if I was a betting man, it's gone. All right. We had about 10 to 15 lenders a year and a half ago that were lending second mortgages, and now we have maybe 2. I mean, look, I'm not, nothing's impossible, and you don't want to never say never, so to speak, but I just think that all in all, second position is a risky position to have, and nobody wants any part of that right now.